There was a boy who did everything right and still ended up at the bottom of a hole. His name was Joseph. He was 17. His brothers threw him into a dry cistern in the desert, sat down to eat lunch, and then sold him to a passing slave caravan for 20 pieces of silver. The people who were supposed to be his blood became his transaction. And that is where the story begins, not where it ends. To understand what happened to Joseph, you have to understand what he was walking into that day. He was his father Jacob's favorite, and everyone knew it. He had a coat that said so. He had dreams that said so, dreams where his brother's sheaves bowed down to his, where the sun and moon and 11 stars bent toward him. He told them those dreams out loud. That part was probably not his finest decision. But he was 17, and he believed what he saw, the way young people do before the world has had a chance to revise them. He walked out to find his brothers in a field near Dothan because his father asked him to, and he did it without hesitation. He trusted the people he had grown up with. That is not naivety. That is the reasonable behavior of someone who has not yet been betrayed. The brothers saw him coming from far off. They recognized the coat first. By the time he reached them, the plan was already made. They stripped him. They took the coat, which was the whole point. They threw him into the pit, and the text says it plainly. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. He could not drown. He could not drink. He could only wait in the dark and listen to his brothers negotiate his price above him. 20 pieces of silver. That was the number. Less than the cost of a slave with a physical defect. They dipped the coat in goat's blood and took it back to their father. Jacob tore his own clothes. He wept for a son who was still alive, and nobody corrected him. Joseph arrived in Egypt in chains. He was bought by a man named Potiphar, a high-ranking officer in Pharaoh's house. And here is where the story starts doing something strange. Everything Joseph touched prospered. Potiphar noticed. He put Joseph in charge of his entire household. Joseph had gone from the pit to running the operation. That should have been the end of the hard part. It was not. Potiphar's wife wanted Joseph. He refused her repeatedly with a clarity that cost him everything. She grabbed his cloak. He left it in her hand and walked away. She showed the cloak to her husband and told the story in reverse. Joseph went to prison for a crime that did not happen, wearing the ghost of a second coat that had been used against him. In prison, he interpreted dreams for 2 of Pharaoh's officials, a cupbearer and a baker. He told the cupbearer, "In 3 days you will be restored to your position." He told the baker, "In 3 days you will be executed." Both came true exactly. He asked the cupbearer one thing: "Remember me when you get out." The cupbearer forgot him for 2 full years. 2 years is a long time to sit in a cell, waiting on a favor from someone who has stopped thinking about you. Then Pharaoh had dreams nobody could interpret. The cupbearer remembered. Joseph was brought up from the dungeon, shaved, given clean clothes, and stood before the most powerful man in the world. He interpreted the dreams: 7 years of abundance, 7 years of famine, prepare accordingly. Pharaoh looked at his entire court and asked who else could do this. Nobody answered. He put the ring from his own hand onto Joseph's finger. Second in command over all of Egypt, 30 years old. The famine came as Joseph said it would. His brothers came to Egypt to buy grain. They stood in front of a man they did not recognize. He recognized them immediately. He could have had them killed. He had the authority. He had the reason. He wept instead. He said, "I am Joseph, your brother. Do not be afraid. You meant it for harm. It was being used for something else." That is the whole story. And the part worth sitting with is not the palace. It is that line, spoken to the people who sold him. No performance, no leverage, no score to settle. Just the truth offered to people who did not deserve it, by someone who had decided that what was done to him did not have to become what he did to others. Not everyone gets to do that, but he did. If Joseph's story hits something in you, leave it in the comments. And if you want more stories told this way, the subscribe button is right there.